Okay, so this video we are going to discuss the past year question for October November 2021 paper 5, which is probability and statistics 1, and the variant 1, which is paper 5 1. Okay, all right, so let's have a look for the first question. Okay, so there are two fair coins thrown at the same time, and the random variable x is the number of throws of the two coins required to obtain two tails at the same time. Right, so for first part, they want you to find the probability that two tails are obtained for the first time on the 7th row. Okay, so for this question, generally there are a few important keyword here. So first of all, you are seeing that we are having two fair coins are thrown. And after that, they actually define the random variable x, which is the number of throws of the two coins required to obtain two tails at the same time. So that means for this definition, okay, the definition for the random variable x, right, it actually means that how many times you need to throw until you obtain two tails at the same time. So when you want to know the number of throws, when you have the number of throws until two tails are obtained at the same time, it actually gives you a keyword or a pattern telling you that it is actually the geometric progression. Geometric distribution. All right, okay, so x is actually the geometric distribution, and before that, of course, you need to find out the p for a geometric distribution. So what is the p actually? So for p, it's actually equals to the probability of two tails obtained at the same time. So two tails obtained at the same time. Okay, so which means first coin you get tail, and the second coin you also get a tail. So it will be 1 over 2 multiplied with 1 over 2. All right, and therefore you get 1 over 4. And since you know that x is geometric distributed, therefore you can write it out as GEO, geometric distributed, and the parameter inside this bracket should be P. So P is actually 1 over 4. Okay, so you can fill in the 1 over 4 here. Okay, so once you identify the distribution already, then you can start answer the question. So what they want you to find is find the probability that two tails are obtained for the first time on the seventh row. So the seventh row means the number of x is equals to 7, because x is actually the number of throws, right? So the probability that they want you to find is actually x equals to 7. So what is the probability that x is equals to 7? Okay, so for geometric progression means that the first 6 times you didn't obtain, the first 6 times you didn't obtain two tails at the same time. So that means if you didn't obtain two tails at the same time, it will be q. Q is 3 over 4 power 6. And the 7th time you obtain two tails at the same time, which will be 1 over 4. So for your information, this is q and this is p. So q power 6 means that the first 6 times you didn't obtain two tails at the same time, but at the 7th row you get the two tails at the same time. All right, so once you know how to input all this value, then you can just press the calculator and you should be able to get 729 over 16384. Or you can change it become 3 significant figure, which is 0.0445. Right, so this is actually the answer for the question number 1, part A. Right, okay, then now we can proceed to part 2, part B. Okay, so for part B, they're asking for the probability, then it takes more than 9 throws. So more than 9 throws here, if you translate it into the symbol, it should be x greater than 9. More than 9 throws, right? So the number of throws is ax. So x greater than 9 to obtain two tails for the first time. So to calculate the probability for x greater than 9, you can try to use the idea of x smaller equals to 9 to get the answer. All right, it is because of if you're having a geometric distribution, when they are having anything, any x which is more than a number, you actually will get infinity, you can get unlimited terms. So to make the process easier, you should actually take 1 minus p, x smaller equals to 9. All right, then now we should focus on this part, x smaller equals to 9. So when you're having x smaller equals to 9, means that, all right, so means that when x equals to 1, okay, when x equals to 1, that means for the first row you already get two tails at the same time. It can be also x equals to 2. So when you're having x equals to 2, that means first row you didn't get two tails at the same time, but at the second row you get two tails at the same time. So next one, when you're having x equals to 3, that means for the first two times you didn't get two tails at the same time, and on the third time only you get the two tails at the same time. So if I want to rephrase it, it should be x equals to 1 for this case. Okay, then this one means x equals to 2. That means first row you didn't get two tails, but the second row you get the two tails at the same time. Then for this one, it will be x equals to 3. That means first two times you didn't get the two tails at the same time, but for the third time you get two tails at the same time. And if you continue until x equals to 9, it will be 3 over 4 power 8 multiplied with 1 over 4, which means that for the first 8 times, you didn't get two tails at the same time, but at the 9th row, you get two tails at the same time. All right, okay, so if I try to focus again all the things in the large bracket here, you can see that it actually forms a geometric progression, the sum of geometric progression. Can you see that? So this whole line is actually a geometric progression. All right, so I copy the 1 minus the sum of geometric progression for 9 term. Okay, so summary here, for this whole square bracket, it is actually a geometric progression for 9 term, sum of 9 terms in the geometric progression. That's the first thing. And the second thing is you should know that what is the r in this geometric progression. So it should be actually 3 over 4. Okay, and after that, from here, what is the first term for this geometric progression? It will be 1 over 4. So when you want to find the sum of the first 9 terms in the geometric progression, the formula will be S9 should be equals to A, and then 1 minus R power 9 divided by 1 minus R. All right, okay, so this is actually the formula for the sum of the 9 terms of a geometric progression. Right, so now we want to substitute all the details into the formula, into our calculation here. All right, okay, so what should it be? So it should be actually A is 1 over 4 multiply with 1 minus R. R is 3 over 4 power 9. Okay, and we have to divide it by 1 minus R. So 1 minus R will be 1 minus 3 over 4. All right, and then if you try to look in detail, this 1 minus 3 over 4 is the same value as the 1 over 4. Therefore, we can actually simplify it. And what we still have here is 1 minus 3 over 4 power 9. Okay, and end up, what is the final answer for this case? So the final answer will be actually 0.0751. All right, so this is actually the answer here for this example, okay, for this question. All right, then for this question, actually, I'm showing you the long steps to get the answer where we are using the concept of a sum of the geometric progression, okay, to get the final answer. All right, so you need to actually have some basic idea about the geometric progression and also the sum. What's the formula? All right, and actually there's a shortcut formula, okay, for this case also. So what is the shortcut formula? So for the shortcut formula, you should have a look for this one. And this x smaller equals to 9, end up, right, you can summarize it into this part, where if I combine these two together into a general formula, you will get something like this, which is x smaller equals to r, it will be equals to 1 minus q power r. So if let's say you want to make it shorter, the steps, then you should try to memorize this formula here. Okay, so you can see that which is quite logic because 1 minus q is 3 over 4 for this case, and then power r. All right, so there are two ways for you to get the answer lah. Either you memorize the formula, the shortcut formula here for this um, particular value, okay, x smaller equals to r equals to 1 minus q power r, or you can just try to apply the idea of sum of a geometric progression. Okay, so this is what we have for our question number 1. Okay, so let us continue to question number 2. Right, so for question number 2, they are talking about a summary of 40 values of x given the following information, right? So they give you the summation of x minus k and also the summation of x minus k squared, right? And you're having the 40 values. So please take note that the 40 values here, the 40 here is actually the value of n, the number of data that you have, okay? And k is a constant. So here they give you the mean of these 40 values of x is 34. All right, so since they already give you the mean is 34 and find the value of k. All right, so for this question, actually it's quite straightforward. You need to know what is the correct formula for you to find out the mean when you're having the summation of x minus k and also the summation of x minus k squared. Right, so this is the formula that we should use. Okay, so please take note that the formula here, this formula is not provided in the formula booklet, so please make sure that you try to remember it. Right, so the formula for the mean is something like this. Okay, and we are going to substitute all the available information into this formula and try to get the value for k, which is the eta in this formula here. All right, so since we are having summation of x is equals to, mean x is equals to summation of x minus k divided by n, then plus k. Mean x, the mean of x is actually 34 given by the question. All right, so given in the question, it is equals to 34, and also the summation of x minus k is actually 520. So you just really put in the value 520 divided by n. So n will be the 40 in this case, and plus k. K is the value that you don't know yet. All right, and therefore from here, if you try to move and simplify the value, okay, you will get k equals to 21. So this question is very straightforward. All right, so please make sure that you know what is the correct formula to apply. Then now we proceed to question number B. Okay, so to question number B, they want you to find the variance of these 40 values of x. So again, the correct formula for the variance is actually this one. All right, so the formula shown here is actually the standard deviation. So if I want to find out the variance, you no need to show the square root. All right. Okay, so to get the variance, what is the correct formula here? It should be summation of x minus a squared, which is summation of x minus k squared in our question here. Should be 9640 divided by n, which is 40, and minus, all right, the summation of x minus a, which is 520 in our case, divided by 40, and you have to square this whole thing here. And the variance value that you get should be equals to 72. All right, so these are the answer for part A and also part B for question number 2. All right, so please take note that the formula shown here will not be provided in the formula booklet, therefore you have to think a way to memorize it. Alright, so now we come to question number 3. Alright, so for question number 3, they are talking about bedtime drink. So Suki has either chocolate, tea, or milk with this probability. And after that, they are talking about whether she will have a biscuit or not. Okay, after we decide the bedtime drink. So for the bedtime drink, when she has chocolate, then the biscuit, she's having biscuit is 0.3 probability. And also all these are tea, and then having biscuit probability is 0.6 and so on. Alright, so from here you can see that this is actually there are two processes in this whole event, in this whole incident here. You can see that the first stage here, the very first part, they are talking about the bedtime drink, and after the bedtime drink, they are followed by the event that whether she has the biscuit or not. Alright, so for this case, usually it will be quite useful if you use the probability tree diagram or the probability or the tree diagram to get the answer, right? Okay, so you can have a look for the question. They want you to find the probability that Suki has tea, given that she does not have a biscuit. All right, so to show everything clearly, I will draw out the tree diagram here for this question. Right, so first stage, we are having 3 types of bedtime drink. It will be either chocolate or tea or milk. And the probability respectively will be 0.45, 0.35, and also 0.2. So just make sure that when you total up all this probability for all the branches here, for the first stage, you should be equals to 1. All right, and after that, after we know that she has chocolate, the probability that she has a biscuit is 0.3. So for the second stage of the tree diagram, we should draw whether she has biscuit or not. So this one means she has biscuit. Right, and after that we are having the option of not having biscuit as well. Okay, so the same thing happened for the tea and also milk. And you should fill in all the probability lah, right, for all these possible, all these events. Okay, so for when she has chocolate, the probability that she has a biscuit is 0.3, so you should put a 0.3 here. And what's the value for not having biscuit after taking chocolate? It should be equals to 0.7. So to ensure that how we get a 0.7 is actually you have to make sure that this pair of probability when they total up it should be equals to 1. Okay, it is a complementary of complement of each other lah. Right, then now we go to the tea part. So for the tea, when she has tea, the probability that she has a biscuit is 0.6. So that means this is 0.6, therefore it is equals to 0.4 for not having biscuit. So that the total it should be equals to 1. Then when she has milk, she never has a biscuit. So never has a biscuit means that the probability is 0. And not having biscuit, the probability is 1. Okay, so once you fill in all the possibility already in the tree diagram, then you can start answer the question. So they want you to get the probability Suki has tea given that. So highlight this keyword given that. This keyword tells you actually they want you to find out the conditional probability. So for any conditional probability, you have a slash here. So you have to fill in the event that already known, okay, at this part where this is what we have. We already know that she does not have a biscuit. So that means for this part, she is not having the biscuit. And what is the probability comes later? They want to find the probability that she has tea. So this is tea. Okay, so for any conditional probability, the correct formula should be T intersect with not having biscuit divided by the probability that she's not having biscuit. Alright, so we want to put in the values from the tree diagram here. Okay, on top, the numerator, T intersect with not having biscuit should belongs to this one, T. and not having biscuit. So the probability here should be 0.35 multiplied with 0.4 divided by the probability of not having biscuit at the denominator. Okay, so for denominator, not having biscuit, right, you should actually start from beginning and includes the whole path, okay, the whole line from the beginning. You cannot just focus on the part here. So it cannot be 0.7 plus 0.4 plus 1, which is wrong. You should start from the beginning of this tree diagram. So not having biscuit, there are a few ways here, a few lines. The first outcome is this one, having chocolate and not having biscuit. So the probability here should be 0.45 multiplied with 0.7. Okay, then plus the second line will be tea and not having biscuit, which is 0.35 multiplied with 0.4. Okay, so that will be actually our second outcome. Okay, and also the third one for not having biscuit will be milk, and then not having biscuit is this one. So if you want to write out the probability, it should be 0.2 multiplied with 1. Okay, all right, so after you put in all the correct values already, the numerator answer you should get, which is 7 over 50. All right, and the denominator should be 131 divided by 200. So to simplify everything here, you will get 28 over 131, or you want to change it become 3 significant figure, it will be 0.214. Right, so this is what we have for question number 3. All right, so let us discuss question number 4 now. So we have a fair spinner with these numbers and another spinner with these numbers. Then they are talking about the random variable x is the sum of the numbers for the two spinners. Okay, so from here very clearly, you can see that they give you a definition for the x. So the x is actually the sum of the numbers for the two spinners. And for the first question here, they actually want you to draw the probability distribution table for x. All right. Okay, so there are many ways for you to do this. And then for me, I will try to draw a possibility space diagram. As for this example, for this question, there are two spinners. Spinners number 1 and spinners number 2. So by drawing out the possibility space diagram, it will show you all the possible outcomes. All right. Okay, so I will draw it out like this. Okay, for the first spinner, we are having 0, 1, 2, and 2. Okay, so I will label this as a first spinner, and the second spinner is -1, 0, and also 1. All right, so the empty space here, for the empty space here, I will try to fill in the sum. They are talking about the sum of the numbers for the two spinners, which means for this one, it should be 0 plus -1, and therefore you should get -1. Same thing for the next one, 0 plus 0, you get a 0. 0 plus 1, you get a 1. So you just total up the score from the two spinners. So 1 plus 0, 1. Oh, sorry, 1 minus 1 equals to 0. Then this you'll get 1 and 2. And you do the same thing for the rest. All right, so once you add all the two numbers between the spinners already, all these are your possible outcomes. So from here, very clearly that you have a few numbers of x. So x can be equals to -1. So what is the probability for x equals to -1? You try to count it from the possibility space diagram. There are 12 boxes in total, and there's only one boxes with the value -1. So the probability will be 1 over 12. All right. The same thing happened for the rest of the number. You also can see that we are having x equals to 0. There are two numbers with the value x equals to 0 in the possibility space diagram. So it should be 12 or 2 over 12. And if you want to simplify, it will become 1 over 6. All right, so the same thing. So the next value will be what? The next value will be x equals to 1. From here, I think you can see very clearly that you're having 4. 4 number 1 in the table, so it should be 4 over 12, which is 1 over 3. You also can see the value x equals to 2, which is 3 over 12, and 1 over 4. And the last one will be x equals to 3. Then you get 2 over 12, and it should be equals to 1 over 6. All right, so for this question, the possibility space diagram will be actually my method. Okay, my method to find out the probability for each value of x. All right, and since they're asking us to draw up the possibility distribution table, so for the final answer, you need to construct a table here and list out all the value of x with the respective probability. All right, so I'm having the value for x and also p. I can have x equals to -1, 0, 1, 2, and also 3. All right, so this will be 1 over 12, 1 over 6, 1 over 3, 1 over 4, and 1 over 6. If you want to double check and see whether your answer here is correct or not, one of the methods that you check is you can add up all the probability here for all the value of x and see whether it is equals to 1 or not. Alright, so if it is equals to 1, that means very likely your answer is correct. But of course, if let's say you total up and you didn't get the total is equals to 1, that means your answer definitely something wrong. Alright, something wrong somewhere. Okay, right, so this is how we actually get the answer for part A. So to me, possibility space diagram is one of the more straightforward method because it lists out all the possible value for x and then I can get the probability in a very straightforward way. All right, so this is what we have for part A. All right, so let's continue to part number B. Okay, for part number B, they are asking for the variance x. All right, so just to recall, to find out the variance x, the formula that we should use is the expected value of x squared minus the value of mean squared. Right? So this is the formula that we should use to find out the variance for the x. Right, so usually for me, I will try to find out the value separately. So first of all, we'll find out the EX first. EX means that you take the value of x, multiply with the probability. And you do the same thing for the next value, x, multiply with the probability, x, multiply with the probability, and so on. All right, then you can get the value for mean. So for this case, if you didn't do any careless mistake, the mean value should be 5 over 4. Next, I will find out the expected value of x squared. So for expected value of x squared, you need to square the x, then only you multiply with the probability. So as example, -1 squared, multiply with 1 over 12, 0 squared, multiply with 1 over 6. So you can see that I square all the x before multiply with the probability. 1 over 3, 2 square, 1 over 4, 3 square, 1 over 6. So for this expected value of x squared, if you calculate the value, you'll get the number here. All right. So the last step, only you try to calculate out the value of variance x. So the variance x will be this value minus the mean square, and the correct value for the variance x should be 65 over 48. Of course, if you want, you can change it become a three significant figure. All right, for this answer. Okay, so this is how we calculate the value of the variance x. So please take note that the formula is provided. Okay, or if you can try to separate both calculation before you can combine them together. So the correct answer for this question should be 65 over 48. Okay, so we come to question number 5. So question number 5 talking about Rama and Sanjay are the members of a quiz team, and they have total 9 members. Then they want to take 2 photographs of the quiz team are to be taken. So for the first photograph, the 9 members will stand in a line. And they are asking for how many different arrangements. So maybe you can highlight the word arrangement. So this word arrangement tells you that it involves permutation. Means the order is important. Where usually for permutation, you will need to use NPR or something related to factorial to get an answer. All right, and then what is the condition or the restriction here? They said Raman will be at the center of the line. So if Raman will be at the center of the line, means that Raman will be in the center, and then the location for Raman, the position for Raman will be fixed. That means you don't touch Raman anymore. And then we are going to arrange the remaining 8%. All right, so if Raman is fixed here, you just need to make sure that you arrange the 8 of them. Okay, the remaining 8%. All right, so it should be 8 factorial, which is equals to 40320. Okay, all right. So some students might ask now, can I like put it like this? This one, I want to arrange 4 persons, so 4 factorial. This one, I want to arrange another 4 person, so that's why 4 factorial. But you can see that if let's say you're having 4 factorial with 4 factorial together, you won't able to get the correct answer, which is 40320. All right, so it is because of, for this case, we are not going to divide the remaining members into 2 groups. We are actually want to arrange the remaining of them in a straight line. So when you're doing it like this, you are actually trying to divide them into 2 groups and arrange, which is not the correct idea that the question one. All right, so the question wants us to arrange them in a line. So that means we are not going to separate them into 2 groups and arrange. We should put them all together in a line and arrange. So this will be the correct answer. Okay. All right, so maybe we can proceed to part number B. Okay, so for part number B. Okay, so they are asking for how many different arrangements of the 9 members are possible in which Raman and Sanjay are not next to each other. So again, we are still talking about arrangement. All right. And the restriction for this case now is these 2 persons are not next to each other. So that means they must be separated. So when you want to arrange something that must be separated, you should exclude them first. Okay, but you try to arrange the rest of the members first. So I'm having 7 remaining members, right? Excludes Raman and Sanjay. So I want to arrange these 7 members first freely. So it should be 7 factorial. So after you arrange them, then now only you try to put in Raman and also Sanjay. Okay, so to put in Raman and also Sanjay, you can put them in one by one. So let's say if I want to put in Raman, so how many possible cases I have here? I can put Raman here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So for Raman case, now you have 8 possible location or position to put Raman in. And now, if you already put Raman in one of the location or position, let's say Raman is here, Then for Sanjay's turn, he only have 7 remaining place that we can put him. So 8 will be for Raman, 7 will be for Sanjay. Okay, so this is how you get the answer. The answer should be 282240. Okay, so this is one way. All right. Okay, so maybe I rewrite it again. It should be something like 7 factorial multiply with 8 multiply with 7. So you will get 282240. Another method is you do the same thing also. Okay, I arrange the remaining 7 members first, which is 7 factorial. And now I will see how many total space I can slot in Raman and Sanjay. So from here, you can see very clearly that I have 8 spaces that can slot in Raman and Sanjay. So each space can slot in only one person. All right, so that means what? That means you are having 8 spaces and you can arrange in 2 person. So it can be also 7 factorial multiply with 8p2. And end up you will see that the answer is actually the same for both methods here. Okay, so this is what we have for part number B. And now let's proceed to part C. Okay, so for part C, now they are talking about the second photograph. The members will stand in 2 rows. So 2 rows, 5 in the back row and also 4 in the front row. Okay, then they're asking now, how many different ways can the 9 members be divided into a group of 5 and also a group of 4? Okay, so the word divided. Okay, so divided actually means that you want to select 5 members into group 1 and the remaining 4 into group 2. So when you are talking about selection, it will be about combination. So for combination, usually we are using NCR. All right. Okay. So how can we do that? So originally we are having 9 members. Then you want to choose out 5 members to be in group 1. Multiply with the remaining 4 members into group number 2. Okay. So for this case, you have 126. Or you can do it in the other way. That means you want to choose 4 person to the front row first. So it will be 9C4. And the remaining 5 person, you choose all of them into the back row. So it will be equals to 126 also. So it depends on how you think about it. All right, but no matter how, you can see that the answer are still the same, which is 126. Okay, so this is about the combination. All right, then now we continue to part D. Okay, so for part D, for a random division into a group of 5 and a group of 4, the probability that Raman and Sanjay are in the same group as each other. Okay, so now they actually want to investigate where Raman and Sanjay are in the same group. Okay, so for case number 1, we can assume that Raman and also Sanjay are at the back row. So you still have 1, 2, 3 empty space for the back row, and then 4 space for the front row. Okay, and then we also have case number 2. For case number 2, you should imagine that Raman and Sanjay are both in the front row. So if they are in the front row, so that means they already occupy 2 slots for the front row and still have 2 empty slots for the front row. Okay, all right, so they are asking for the probability. All right, therefore, to calculate the probability for case number 1, how can we do that? Okay, so now because Rama and Sanjay already occupied the back row, okay, so back row still have remaining 3 slots. which means I need to choose 3 persons to put them in the back row. So it will be 7C3. So why is it 7 but not 9 now? Because Raman and Sanjay already excluded from the member because we already put them in the group. So total have 9 members and we don't want to pick Rama and Sanjay anymore. Therefore, the total member becomes 7 only. Alright, so it becomes 7C3 and the remaining 4 person, you will put them into the front row. So 4C4. Divided by what? Divided by the total without restriction. So the total without restriction is actually happen in part number C lah. Alright, where you didn't consider and you didn't have any restriction from part number C. So it is the total selection which is 126. So you get a first answer here which is 5/18. Then for the second case, the same thing happened. You can have 7C2 multiply. The remaining 5 person will go to the back row. Okay, then divided by 126. So you have 1/6 for case number 2. So what is the total probability? So the probability for both cases will be, you need to add them together. So it should be 5/18 plus 1/6, which is actually equals to 4/9. Alright, so this is how we actually get the answer for the probability for this case. Okay, so we come to question number 6 now. Alright, so question number 6, they give you 2 set of data for 15 rugby players. And then, oh sorry, there are 2 clubs here, Rebels clubs and also soccer player in Sharks club. And these are the data that show their weight. Okay, alright, so you have 2 set of data, one set from Rebels, another one from Sharks. So part number 8, they want you to represent the data by drawing a back-to-back stem and leaf diagram, and then the Rebels must be on the left-hand side. Okay, alright, so now before we start, first of all, we need to decide what is our stem here. So what is the smallest value among all these data here? Okay, if you have a look, I think they already arranged the value from small to large. So the smallest value among all will be 66 and the largest value will be 102. So your stem value, the lowest stem value should be from 6 and the largest stem value should be until 10. 102, right? So it should be 10 for the stem. So you can put it like this. The stem start from value 6, then you have 7, 8, 9, 10. Alright, and then they already mentioned that the Rebels group should be in the left, at the left hand side, so Rebels is here, and of course the Sharks will be on the right. Okay, then I think very easily now you can just plug in all the value from smallest to the largest. Okay, so start from the Rebels one. The smallest value for it is 75, so you put 75 here at the lead part. Okay, 75 and then 78, 79. Then the next one will be 80, 82, 82, 83, 84, 85, 6, 9. Okay, and then you go to the value start from 9, 93, 95, and 99. And then for 10, you will have 102. So these are all the data taken from the Rebels group. So you can count whether is there 15 data or not. And then for the Sharks part, again, you try to plug in all the values, 66, 68, 71, 72, 74, 5, 5, 6, 8. Then 3, 3, 4, 5, 6. And after that, you're having 2. Okay, so this is how our back-to-back stem and leaf diagram look like. And then after you complete your stem and leaf diagram, don't forget to always put a key. Okay, so you can simply take any set of values and you have to write out what does them denotes, what are the numbers denotes. So we can write like this, 75 kilo for the rebel player, okay, and then 71 kilo for the sharks player. All right, you have to write out the key with the correct unit after the back-to-back stamp block. Usually the key will be given 1 mark. All right, okay, so this is what you have for part A. Then now let's continue to part B. So for part B, they actually want you to calculate the mean and interquartile range for the rebels group. Okay, median and also interquartile range. Let's have a look for the data again. Okay, when they are having 15 data in general, okay, they are having 15 data in general, right? So where's the center? So the center of the rebels group will be the 8 value number 8, 1, 2, 3. So you can see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is the center value number 8. All right. Therefore, for part B, the median, very easily you can get the value 84. So 84 will be the median for the reverse group. Okay. After that, you want to know for Q1 and also Q3 before you can get IQR. Okay, so now we look for Q1. So for Q1, you ignore the median value. Okay, you only focus on the first 7 value of your group. Okay, so the first 7 value, where's the center value here? So again, you can see that the center value nicely shown that 80 will be the center value. Okay, 7 values in total, right? So the center should be 80. Okay, therefore the Q1 will be 80. Then the same thing happens for Q3. You ignore the median value. You only refer to the last 7 values at the second part of your data. Where's the center actually? So you can see that the center is here. Nicely shown that it is 93. Okay, so once you get the Q1 and Q3, therefore you can get the value of interquartile range, IQR. It should be Q3 minus Q1, and therefore your IQR should be equals to the mean. All right, so usually for me, I will write out the unit in full. So you should write out 13 kg, 13 kilograms. Okay, so this is what you have for the median and also the interquartile range. All right, so this is what I have for part B. Okay, so next, let us proceed to part number C. Okay, so for part number C, they want you to sketch the box and whisker plot. Okay, draw a box and whisker plot for the rebels group on the same diagram here. Okay, then of course you already have median, which is Q2, Q1, and Q3. So all this you need to put it in the box and whisker plot later, and you still need to find out the maximum and minimum value. Okay, so if you refer back to the if you refer back to the data that you have, you need minimum value for the rebels group will be 75. Okay, and then the maximum for the rebels group will be, again, you can refer to the diagram, the back-to-back stamp plot or the data. So you have 102 for the maximum one. Okay, so first value that you need to draw in your in your box and whisker plot is minimum value, which is 75. So 75 should be somewhere here. The second value that you are going to draw will be the Q1. So Q1, just now you already find out, which is 80. So you draw 80. The third value that you draw will be the median. which is 84. Then the fourth value will be the Q3, which is 93. Okay, and the last one will be your maximum value, which is 102. Okay, then you join the center three line, the second, third, and fourth line, or known as Q1, Q2, Q3, by using two horizontal lines to make a box. Okay, then the box is actually constructed by Q1, Q2, and also Q3. And after that, you try to join the maximum and minimum value to the box. Okay, so your graph should look something like this, your box and whisker plot. And then, of course, don't forget to label it. So this data or this box and whisker plot belongs to Rebel's group. Okay, so this is how we sketch it. So please take note that the whisker, the horizontal line here, shouldn't pass through the box. It will touch the box only, but it will not pass through or go through the box. All right, so this is what we have for part number C. Okay, then how about part D? So for part D, they actually want to make one comparison between the weight of the players in Rebels Club and the weight of the players in the Sharks Club. Okay, so for comparison question, maybe you can have a look for the data again. When you're having the back-to-back stem plot, you can actually have a general overview, like what is the difference between these two groups, all right? So from here, you can see quite clearly that generally, right, the Rebels group, their players is heavier. You can see that their weights are higher comparatively with the Sharks group. Okay, so you can write out any sentence which is related to this weight. Okay, so maybe I can write it like this. For part D, maybe I'll write as these are in average. Generally, right? So you can see that in average, the weights of Rebels player is higher than the weight of Sharks players. Okay, so of course you can write out a correct sentence based on any comparison that you can observe from the back-to-back template. Okay, all right, the last question. Okay, so for the last question here, they are talking about the time in minutes that CAIE spends each day on social media are normally distributed. So please highlight the keyword normally distributed. Okay, this will be a keyword that tells you that later when you want to solve any probability question, generally you need to standardize it, change it become Z, then find out the value from the table. All right, and then the mean given is 125, standard deviation is 24. Okay, so usually for me, I will just try to write it out. So X denotes the time. We are talking about the time. Okay, so X will be the time, and it is normally distributed with 125. Then standard deviation is 24, and then you square that because in this parameter should be a variance. All right, so it should be 24 squared. Okay, so on how many days of the year would you expect CAIE to spend more than 142 minutes on social media? More than 142 minutes. So that means the time taken is more than 142. So when you want to translate into a symbol form, it should be X, which is the time, more than greater 142. So you need to find this probability first, and after that only you multiply it with the 365 days to know the total number of days that you have in the year that spend more than 142 minutes on social media. Okay, right, so let's start with this one. So this is X, and you know that X is normally distributed. Therefore, to find the probability for a normal distribution, you need to standardize it, which is you have to change it become Z. So how you change it become Z, it should be 142. You take the X value minus the mean. So minus 125. All right, and then you divide it by standard deviation divided by 24. So the mean and standard deviation are given right in the question already. Okay, so next step, you try to press calculator and get the value here, then you should get 0.708. Okay, so again, a reminder to all of you here, please make sure that you make this into 3 decimal places, because the maximum decimal number that we can find out from the normal distribution table will be 3 decimal places. All right, so please make sure that you put it into 3 decimal places. And now you want to find out the probability for z greater than 0.708. And you need this table. Okay, so maybe I need to switch it. Okay, 0.708. Or maybe I can make it smaller. Okay, so you want to get the probability for 0.708. So 0.7 is this one. 70. Then you have to add the 8. Okay, so this is 708. So what does this value mean? It means that you have to take 7580, then you add 24 at the last 2 digits. Alright, so 7580 plus 24, you will get 7604. Okay, and please take note that for this normal distribution table, they only give you the probability for smaller. Okay, so like this one, this is actually the value for x smaller than 0.708. They only give you the probability for smaller, but we are looking for the larger, right? Z greater than 0.708. So you have to take 1 minus 0.7604. And therefore you get 0.2396. All right, so the probability here should be 0.2396. And I will not change it become 3 significant figure yet, because this is not my final answer. If you look at the question again, they are actually asking you to find out the number of days. Okay, so how to calculate the number of days? So I want to know in a year, right, how many days actually she spent or he spent more than 142 minutes on social media. So you should take 365, multiply with the probability that you get, and after that, the answer that you get should be 87.454. If you want, you can change it become a whole number. All right, you can write as 75 days. Okay, or you prefer to make it become 87 or 88. Okay, so I think the marking scheme will accept all. All right, if you think that the number of days should be in the whole value, whole number, then you can write it as 87 or 88. Okay, so this one is actually the 3 significant figure answer. All right, this is what we have for part A, number 1. Okay, all right, so again, the X here is actually the time taken, the time spent on social media. Okay, let's go to question number 2, part number 2. Okay, so for part number 2, they are asking, find the probability that Carly spends more than 142 minutes on social media on fewer than 2 of 10 randomly chosen days. Okay, so now they are talking about what now? They are talking about fewer than 2 days for this question. Previously, they are asking for the probability that the time spent more than 142, but now they actually focus on fewer than 2 days. They are focused on number of days. And if you look at the structure of this question, you can see that you have 10 days originally, and then out of the 10 days, fewer than 2 days, something happened. So you see this structure, this kind of structure of question, right? Generally, it belongs to binomial distribution. Okay, because for binomial distribution, you have a larger value of n, which is a 10. Okay, 10 days. And then what's the probability that you should put here? So for the probability that you should put is the probability for more than 142 minutes. So where is your more than 142 minutes? You already get the value just now in part number 1. The probability is 0.2396. And if you look at this question again, they actually want you to find out the probability that the number of days fewer than 2. Okay, so when you're having a binomial distribution, it means that your value of y should take all the positive integer, all the integer. So what are the values that you have for smaller than 2? So you have y equals to 0. So when you're having y equals to 0, it will be 10c0, 0.2396 p power 0, and then q. Q is 1 minus 0.2396 power 10. Okay, so this is y equals to 0. And after that, you also need to have y equals to 1. 10c1, p power 1, and q power 10 minus 1, which is a 9. Alright, then you just try to press calculator, and you should be able to get 0.268. Correct to 3 significant figure. Alright. Okay, so this is what we have for part number 2. Okay. Then now, let us continue to part number 3. Okay, so when we come to part B, they are talking about on 90% of days, Carly spends more than 3 minutes on social media. So they want you to find the value of T. Okay, so for this question, if you try to rephrase it again, 90% means that the percentage or the probability, and then he or she spends more than 3 minutes. So again, they come back to minutes, the time. So that means if you try to translate it into a symbol form, it will be x. X is the time span, right? More than 3 minutes, so more than t. And what is the probability? Is equals to 90%, which is 0.90. So this is the information given, and they actually want you to find the value of t here. Okay, all right, so this is the symbol, this is information that they give us. So now from here, we want to continue and try to get the value of t. Again, x is still normally distributed. Okay, so the next step will be you need to standardize it. So how to standardize it is t minus the mean. So minus the mean will be minus 125 again, and then divided by standard deviation, which is 24. And it is equals to 0.90. Okay, so after from this step, continue from this step, right? We have many different ways to get the correct answer. So for me, usually I will just try to sketch the diagram for a normal distribution. This is 0. Okay, all right, so first you need to know that 0.90 is a large area, which is already more than half of the graph. All right, so you should remember that this is a large area for 0.9, and then we are having z greater than a value, it is equals to 0.9. So if you want to make this logic, that means the value should be here, should be this one. Okay, so let's say I put it as a. Okay, so that means greater than a means you should shade the right hand side of the a, and this whole area is actually equals to 0.90. Okay, so I try to visualize the symbol by using the graph. Okay, and now we want to get this value of a so that I can equate it with what we have in the t here. Okay, all right. So how can I find the value of a? So you can use the normal distribution table again. All right, and I take out the bottom part of the normal distribution table. You can see that they list out the critical values for the normal distribution. It might be quite useful in some certain value. Okay, why I say it is quite useful, because you can see this area is 0.9. So for some certain area, right, that you use it quite frequently, they straight away show you the value of z. with the area. So you can see that the area is 0.9 and the value of z is 1.282. Okay, therefore we can write t minus 125 divided by 24, it looks like 1.282, but again, you should look at your diagram that you sketched just now. So this value of a is on the left hand side of the 0, therefore it should be a negative value. So when you want to equate it with the t, you should put it as a negative sign. So t minus 125 divided by 24 equals to negative 1.282. So the use of the diagram here is actually to help you to decide whether your z value should be positive or should be negative. So from here, very obvious that you can see from the graph, it is a negative value. So you just put a negative after you find out the value of z. Okay, and after that, I think the step will be quite simple. You try to move all the number to the other side, and you'll get the value of t. And I will change it to 3 significant figure, which is 94.2 minutes. Alright, and this is how we get the value for t for this question. Okay, so here we ended this paper. Right?